Hey everybody, I am here to sit down and talk about the DVC resale process. This is long overdue, so let's just get right into it. In this video, I'm going to talk about Disney Vacation Club, specifically resale. So what is a DVC? DVC, Disney Vacation Club, is pretty much Disney's very own timeshare. So essentially you will purchase a contract with a certain amount of points and you will get those points to use each year. We did not end up going direct through Disney. If you were to go direct through Disney, you would essentially be buying through that resort. As of right now, from this video, I believe the only resorts available that you can buy into are Disney's Aulani over in Hawaii and the new Copper Creek over at Fort Wilderness. What we ended up doing is we bought resale, which means that we ended up taking over and buying into somebody's contract. So really we end up buying and taking over the remainder of their contract. Sometimes people sell privately, but they ended up going through a third party, a reseller, and we ended up buying through a reseller. So again, this is more specific to resale. I don't know the ins and outs of buying direct. I know that there are a lot of other YouTube videos out there that may be more helpful for you if you are looking into buying through Disney direct. This is strictly resale and the process that we went through, and a little bit more information that may help you on your resale journey. Talk about our contract. We ended up buying 160 points and our home resort is Bay Lake Tower. And our use month, which means it's the month that your points renew each year, is February. So what that means is every February we get 160 points to use for the year. And we get to use those points at our home resort or at any other DVC resort. I wanted to go over the importance of selecting your home resort. Your home resort is the resort that you can book out 11 months in advance. So if you want to book something during a peak season or far in advance, like Christmas or Thanksgiving, where those months tend to book up faster, you can do so 11 months out at your home resort. If you want to book at a non-home resort, you can still do that, no problem, but that means you have to wait 7 months out when you're wanting to have your vacation. Which means if it's a peak time that you're wanting to stay, you may not have the availability that you're hoping for and that you want. So I want to get back into our package a little bit more. I have my computer here. I want to break it down for you to see really what 160 points looks like and how we can use it. Like how many stays can we actually get? What kind of rooms can we get with our 160 points being at Bay Lake Tower? One of the benefits for us is we plan on using our points during the value seasons, like September and January. Even though we tend to stay throughout the year, we had planned to use the majority of our points in the value seasons. I'm on the DVC website right now, and if we wanted to stay at a standard view studio villa, it's going to cost me 14 points per night. Looking at January for the same amount of time is also 14 points per night. Now, if I were to jump to December, saying that I can book right now, if I wanted to book right now, I'm sure the availability is not there because we're only 3 months out. But if I wanted to book in December, it goes up to between 15 to 17 points per night, depending on the nights that I stay. Weekends are usually a little bit more. During the week is a little bit less. The week of Christmas is 25 points per night. So keep that in mind, depending on when you want to go. That may be a key to finding out how many points you will need for your vacations. But 14 points per night at Bay Lake for a studio is pretty much as low as I've seen it. I don't think it's gonna be much lower than that. So doing the simple math here, for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So if I wanted to stay 5 nights in September and 5 nights in January at a studio villa at Bay Lake Tower, using our points, that would equal up to 140 points. We have 160, so we would still have points left over. We could either take them and bank them for another year or find like one night somewhere during the year. That kind of just gives you an idea of how we plan on using our points. Some things may come up and we may not go in January, and that gives us extra points to either book a 1-bedroom for September or book at different months out of the year, like in April or July for Ellie and Max's birthdays. Just to give you an idea, on the Disney website, for a night stay during the times that we want to go, it looks like it's $495 a night. That's for a standard view studio villa. So now I think it would be helpful to share with you what we actually end up paying for our contract. So we bought a $160 contract and we paid $120 per point. So our investment for our vacations until 2054 is $19,000. It may seem like a lot to you, but if you do the math and you plan on having a lot of stays, it's totally worth it. And especially if you end up buying resale, you're gonna save a lot more money than going direct. One thing to know when you're buying into resale is that you don't get all the perks that you would if you were to buy direct, like the Moonlight Magic or the access to the Epcot Lounge, and you won't get the DVC discounts, but you still get the pool hopping and you still can access On Top of the World Lounge over at Bay Lake. Because we go all the time and we tend to do our longer stays during the non-peak seasons, it just made sense for us to finally buy into DVC. So your annual dues are based off of your home resort and how many points you have on your contract. So our dues each year are gonna be around $950. Is DVC for you? Maybe. It's not for everyone. If you're wondering if DVC is right for you, think about how many times you plan on coming or how many times that you do already take Disney vacations. If you take a vacation once every year, or even once every other year to Disney, and you tend to book at a deluxe resort, then it may actually end up being more beneficial for you. If you tend to take a vacation once every 4 to 5 years, then it may not be beneficial for you, but do your research. Knowing if a DVC is right for you is only based off of what you know and how you're gonna use it. Those 14 points per night, we were basing that off of a studio villa, like we mentioned. Right now the kids are little. Maybe in a few years we will end up changing our ways how we vacation and bumping up to a 1-bedroom. Okay, so the resellers that we use is Fidelity, and I'll link their information down below. The reason why we ended up going through Fidelity was because after all of the research that we did, we found that Fidelity was cheaper per point for Bay Lake. Everything was pretty smooth. It took about 2 months to finally close. We started the process in February and we ended up closing on April 19th, which happens to be our anniversary, so that worked out very well. I wish the communication was a little bit better. I felt we were going through the process and we got the email, I kind of had to fish out what was next. I wasn't informed of the next step or what to expect. It was just a little bugaboo of mine. I like being in the know, especially if this is something new that we're doing. Basically what we did was we watched not only Fidelity, but we watched all of the other resellers, watch their listings, and that kind of like a price point that we were willing to spend, and that kind of helped us figure out how many points we were going to initially get. Why we ended up going with Bay Lake. Bay Lake to us is home. We've ended up renting DVC points before, which many of you know. If you don't know, I did do a video on how our process of renting points, and I'll link that right up here. That way, if buying into a DVC isn't right for you right now, this is another option, is to renting DVC points. But after renting DVC points and staying at almost all of the resorts, Bay Lake just seems like our home. The first time that we ended up staying at Bay Lake, Ellie was only 15 months and she happened to take her first steps there. So that's something that is etched in our hearts and our brains, and we haven't found another place that feels so homey for us. And everybody's taste and style is different. We knew going into this that Bay Lake had to be our home resort. Another great thing about Bay Lake is it's the closest to Magic Kingdom that you can get, and you can walk directly from Bay Lake or Contemporary to Magic Kingdom, which is so convenient. And because we typically tend to stay at Bay Lake in September, we go to the Mickey's Not So Scary Halloween party, and it's really nice at the end of the night at 11:30, 12 o'clock at night. We can just leave the park and walk home and not have to wait for a bus or for a monorail. So it's really, really convenient for us. So a lot of the resellers that I was watching had the options of setting up alerts. So you can get an alert on your phone when a new listing comes up. which was very dangerous and very distracting, but I'm glad I did it because I didn't miss a listing when we were getting down to the nitty-gritty of we want to buy, now we have to find the right listing. I ended up doing was when we knew that we wanted to buy into Bay Lake, I put in our home resort, that the resorts, you can do more than one, but I ended up putting in for Bay Lake and a certain amount, like a point range of like between 100 to 200, knowing that around 150, 170 would be where we would want to be as for our contract. And of course I made sure that Frank was 100% on board. I mean, you guys know him, he loves Disney just as much as I do. And he even said that he thinks it's just the time for us to finally invest into a DVC. So when it came down to putting an offer in, we found the contract that we have now. We ended up putting in a little bit of a lower bid. It was initially $124 per point. So we ended up getting down to around $119, $120 per point. So our offer was accepted and it passed Disney's right of first refusal, and 2 months later we closed on our contract, and we were able to that day go onto the Disney Vacation Club website and start planning our vacations. Also, you can buy way cheaper contracts than we did. Vero Beach tends to go for a little bit lower, and the last time I checked, but keep in mind that's your home resort, and if you wanted to stay on Disney property, then you would only have a 7-month window from the time you want to go on your trip. But if you're local like us and are flexible with your stays, then that may be another option for you. Another thing I want to add is if you buy a bigger contract or you just don't have the funds to pay outright, there are options you can finance. They do allow you to finance on certain contracts above a certain amount. 5,000 and above, you can finance it. So they have companies that they recommend, or if you have somebody that you feel comfortable with financing through, you can also do that. We ended up going through Monera to finance because of the cost of the contract. We unfortunately didn't have that amount of money to pay outright. I wish we did, but we didn't. So we put a good amount down, but then ended up financing the rest of it. They do all require a down payment, and they do give you different types of interest rates. So I'll link Monera down in our description so you guys can take a look. They even have a place where you could do an example contract of how many points you're buying, the cost of your total contract, and you can get an idea based off different interest rates. But do keep in mind that there will be fees to go along with that. Another thing that I've heard of people doing is buying multiple smaller contracts at different resorts, and they all try to buy within their same year use. That's another option that you can do if you wanted to have multiple home resorts. We're actually thinking in the future about possibly adding another contract at a different home resort. So we have those options. We hope to get the same year use, but if not, we'll try to work that out. Other questions, you get Disney dining plan with a DVC. Yes, you can. Just make sure you talk to your DVC advisor through your DVC website, and they can help you out with that. I think that's it for this video. Please, if I missed any of your questions or you still have questions, make sure you put them down in the comments. I do make sure to read your comments and answer them as best as I can. I hope this video was helpful for you. Thank you guys for tuning in and being patient, because I know this video was long overdue. I had a lot of you asking when I was gonna make this video. I finally have a moment to sit and make this video. So thank you for your patience, and I hope that this helped you, and we'll see you guys next time on our next Disney video. There he is! I love your hat.
I'm Mickey Mouse.
You're Mickey Mouse? You are Mickey Mouse. You want to sit on my lap? It's okay. There he is! You're so cute. Do you want to stay in the video, or do you want to go back and watch the movie? Okay. You say bye, everybody?